Now let's start with the next part of chapter number 2, which is control statements. Okay, so do one thing in your notebook, you may give a heading C, control statements. Okay, all right. Now what exactly are control statements? So I'm sure you have studied control statements in your C language. Statements like if else, while, do while, switch, for, all these statements are collectively called control statements. Now, this diagram shows a brief categorization of the control statements. Okay, so all the control statements are divided into three categories: selection or branching statements, iteration or looping statements, and jump statements. So, under selection or branching statements, you have if else, nested if else if ladder, and then you have the switch statement. By the way, these four are collectively called if statement. So I can say if statement and switch statement are selection statements. Then under iteration or looping statements, you have while, do while, for, and in Java you have a new statement, new looping statement called for each loop, which we will study in great detail. Okay, look at the mouse pointer. Then under the jump statement, you have break, continue, and return. All right. So this is the categorization of the control statements. Now, I hope you have given the heading. So under the heading, just write refer PN, that means refer printed notes. You will have to write a few things in your printed notes. Okay. If you don't want to write in printed notes, then you better write it in your notebook. Anyway, now what I wanted to tell you over here is, I think I have already told you once that in chapter number 2, many things are similar or exactly same as C language. So those things which are exactly same as C language, on those things we'll not focus a lot. Okay, we'll ignore those things. We'll talk about those things which are relatively new or which are slightly different over here. So in the topic of control statements, let's first talk about the switch statement. Now let's first talk about the general format of the switch statement, and then let's try to understand what is new in Java as far as the switch statement is concerned. Okay, so what you do is you pause this video for a while, and around page number 17-18, okay, see over here, you will see this topic of switch statement, and there is a question answer on switch statement. So what you do is you pause the video and you go through this entire answer. Come on, do that. Okay, so I hope you read this entire answer. All right. Now let's talk about the general format of the switch statement. So over here, starting from here till here is the switch statement. This statement number X is actually not a part of the switch statement. It is an independent statement which is kept over here only for the purpose of explanation. All right. Now this is called the expression of the switch, also called the argument of the switch. Okay, so over here you can write anything. You can write switch A, switch B, switch A plus B, something like that. And these are called case constants, or sometimes they are also called case labels. Okay. Now let's talk about some rules over here. The rule is that this expression which you see over here, this expression can be of data type byte, short, int, char, string, and enum. By the way, let's first talk about something which is not so important. This enum is not there in our syllabus, so we'll ignore this. Okay, let's only talk about this much: byte, short, int, char, string. And one more thing, here onwards, many a times in parentheses you may see something like this: as of Java 7, as of Java 8, and so on. So what this means is, it means that this particular feature was introduced in Java 7. Okay. Now let's get to the logical explanation. So what I was saying is that whatever expression you write over here, okay, whatever variable you write over here, the data type of that expression can be either byte or short or int or char or string. That means it cannot be of data type float, double, or anything else. Okay, now the thing is, what is new over here when compared to C language? Okay, see, as I told you, things which are exactly same, we are not talking about those. We are only talking about things which are slightly different in Java when compared to C. So when compared to C language, what is different over here? The different thing is that in C language, this expression was not allowed to be a string, whereas in Java, this expression can be a string. Okay, all right. Now, how things work over here? So let's talk about the working now. Now, what will happen over here is the compiler will first check whether the value of this expression is same as constant 1. If the value of expression is same as constant 1, the compiler will execute block 1. By the way, block means a group of statements. After executing block 1, the compiler will execute the break statement. Very soon, we are going to study the break statement in great detail. For time being, just remember that a break statement will terminate the switch. So, after the switch terminates, look at the mouse pointer, the compiler skips the remaining part of the switch statement and jumps to statement X. So, from here, it comes to statement X directly. Okay. Now, let's say the value of the expression is not same as constant 1. So, obviously, the compiler will not execute block 1, break, this break, alright. Now, what will happen? The compiler will check whether the value of the expression is same as constant 2. If it is same, the compiler will execute block 2 and then the break will again terminate the switch. So, I think you understood this much. The compiler keeps on checking whether the value of the expression is same as constant 1. If no, then constant 2. If no, then constant 3 and so on. And once a particular case executes, then the compiler will skip the remaining part and will come out of the switch statement to statement X. Okay, now let's say that the value of the expression is not same as constant 1. It is not same as constant 2, 3, 4, 5. It is not same as any case constant. So the compiler will get fed up and it will execute this default block. Okay. So the basic concept over here is that if none of the case constants, if none of the expressions, I repeat once again. So the basic concept over here is that if the value of the expression is not same as any constant over here, then the default block will execute. Can you tell me one thing, that the working of the switch statement is similar to whom? It is similar to the else if ladder. Okay, think about that a little. Anyway, now let's move ahead. Okay, now as I told you, when compared with C language, the difference in Java is that over here this expression can be a string. So let's take one example over here, and with the help of that example we'll understand the working of switch and also how to use string over there. So look at this example. Now we are going to study strings in great detail later on. For time being, just remember that this statement is a declaration and initialization statement. So in this statement, what I am doing is I am creating a string variable called s. Look at the mouse pointer. I repeat, I am creating a variable called s which can store a string. By the way, this s has to be in capital. Okay, why? We'll talk about that in great detail afterwards. Okay. So basically what we are doing is, look at the mouse pointer, we are creating a string variable called s and we are initializing it with blue. Don't forget, string constants are always in double quotes. Now I start with switch, and in this switch I read s, which is called the expression of switch. Okay. Now can you take a guess over here? If this s is a string, then this constant 1, constant 2, they should be of what data type? Their data type should be exactly same as the data type of this expression. So now over here I can write something like, look carefully, the switch starts here and ends here. So I can write something like case red, case white, or I can write default. So over here I could not have written something like case 27 without double quotes, case 98 without double quotes. No. Why? Because this s is a string, so these constants should also be strings. Okay. Now let's understand the working. I am sure by now you know the working. Over here what the compiler will do is, it will check whether the value of s is equal to red. Is it red? No, it is not. So these two statements will not execute. Okay. Now the compiler will check whether the value of s is equal to white. Is it white? No. So these two statements will not execute. Finally, there is a default block. So this s is not equal to red, not equal to white. So the compiler gets fed up and executes the default block. So tell me what will be the output of this entire segment? It will be this thing, neither red nor white. I'm sure you understood this. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about one tricky concept over here, and that concept is called fall through mechanism. I repeat, fall through mechanism. Okay. Now what is this fall through mechanism? Be attentive, it is interesting. Okay. Now let's say I don't write the break statement here, here and here. Okay, I repeat, let's say I don't write any break statement in the switch. If I don't write the break statement in switch, it is absolutely correct, it is syntactically correct, but now we may get a different output. Now how different? So let's understand this. So listen to me carefully. Let's say this is not blue, let's say this is red. Okay, so if you want, I will do the changes over here. Let's say this is not blue, let's say this is red. Okay, all right, look. So I have created a string s which is equal to red, and then I write the same switch statement which I explained you just now. Okay, but let's assume that now there is no break statement in the switch. I repeat again, you should assume that there is no break statement in the switch. Okay, now what will happen is I don't trust you guys, so what I'll do is I'll remove the break statement also. Okay, so that you have no confusion at all. Okay, so see, I'm removing the break statement also. Okay, so now I have what I wanted. Look. Okay, so let's understand the fall through mechanism. So s is equal to red. Now what will happen is, once again the compiler will check whether s is equal to red. Because s is equal to red, the compiler will enter this case red and will execute this SOP. So tell me what will be the output? The output will be color of love. Now please pay attention that there is no break statement over here. Now the rule is that if you do not write the break statement over here, then the fall through mechanism will take place. Now what is this fall through mechanism? So very simple, it means that because there is no case, the compiler will fall to the next case even if the condition is not true. I repeat, the compiler will fall to the next case even if the condition is not true. Okay, so although s is equal to red, because there is no break over here, the compiler will now fall to case white and it will execute this SOP. Alright, so what will be the output? Color of peas. Okay, then once again there is no break over here, so now it will fall to default. Okay, and it will execute neither red nor white. Okay, so basically what the compiler is doing is it is falling from one case to another if there is no break statement within the case. So this technique, I will not say technique, this mechanism, okay, is called fall through mechanism. I hope you understood this much. Now what I want you to do is in your printed notes, I want you to copy the example over here with its output. Okay, if you have a printout of the printed notes, if you have the printed notes with you, then you copy the output over here, or you may copy it in your notebook, that's okay, but don't copy this example. Okay, just go back a little in this video and copy the original example where this was blue and we had break over here at 3 places. So copy that example, not this one. Okay, so that is how the switch statement works in Java.